Hello, welcome to another episode of In the Trenches with Gang Green. I'm your host, Bubbs. Today is Monday, August 12th. Hopefully, everybody's having a good day so far today. We've got a lot to get into today on the podcast. This is episode 351 of the In the Trenches with Gang Green podcast. I thank you, as always, for joining me. For those of you tuning in on YouTube, make sure to please like and subscribe. We are about just 7 subscribers away from 400, so appreciate all of your support as always. And today we are recapping day number 13 of New York Jets training camp out at One Jets Drive. We've got a lot to discuss, a lot of takeaways from today's practice that we will break down in today's episode. Now, before we get to that, let me tell you about our podcast partners, starting with our friends over at SeatGeek. SeatGeek is an app that delivers tickets from all over the internet and puts it into one place to make it easier for you, the buyer. What makes SeatGeek so great is they rate each ticket on a scale of 1 to 10, so you know what type of deal you are getting. Look for the green dots because those are the good deals. Those are the tickets and the prices that you want for the right price and the right seat. Plus, my viewers, use promo code BUBSONSPORTS for $20 off your purchase. Click the link in the description down below. That'll take you to download the SeatGeek app, and at checkout, promo code BUBSONSPORTS for $20 off your purchase. Again, this is tickets for anything, not just sports, anything, plays, concerts, shows. If you can buy a ticket for an event, SeatGeek has it. It's a great time of year, a ton of sports. Baseball's in full swing, postseason baseball's around the corner. Basketball and hockey are coming up soon. Football preseason, there are great seats that you can get for preseason games. So definitely check out SeatGeek, promo code BUBSONSPORTS for $20 off your purchase. Also, my friends over at Huga House, you see me wearing my Huga House hat right now. If you want to get the hat that I'm wearing right now, or any of the hats Aaron Rodgers wears, even Shane Gillis, Shohei Ohtani, so many athletes and celebrities rock the Huga House vintage inspired hats, myself included, although I wouldn't necessarily consider myself a celebrity. But either way, click the Huga House link in the description down below. That'll take you to the Huga House store and use promo code BUBS for 15% off any purchase at Huga House. Once again, that is promo code BUBS for 15% off any purchase. And get yourself some of the same swag that QB1 Aaron Rodgers rocks all the time. Promo code BUBS for 15% off. All right, now let's get into the meat and potatoes of today's episode, and let's get into day number 13 of New York Jets training camp, the first practice after the Saturday afternoon preseason 20-17 win over the Washington Commanders out at MetLife Stadium. The New York Jets were back out on the practice field this afternoon. They will have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday practices at One Jets Drive, and they'll head out to Carolina for a Thursday joint practice, day off Friday, and then they'll play their second preseason game of the preseason slate on Saturday against the Panthers. So look forward to that. Look forward to another action-packed week. We'll have content every single day this week, two episodes a day, of course, with player previews coming out on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Today's episode was up earlier, so definitely check that out. Either way, as for today, was a good day for the defense. It wasn't an awful day for the offense. It was a solid day, though, for the defense. They were able to force a couple turnovers. There was a couple miscommunications offensively. Some of the guys on offense, there wasn't a ton of guys, like the Braylon Allens of the world, and some of those guys didn't practice a ton today, didn't do a whole lot today, as Saleh wanted to give them some rest. Most of the second and third team guys, because of them playing in the preseason. So you got a lot of starter looks today, which is good. And you got a lot of top players on defense who made some really, really big plays, which we'll get to here in a little bit. Now, we will start on the offensive side of the football like we usually do. There was also some big news from an offensive line perspective that we will break down. But Aaron Rodgers, we'll start with him. Of course, we always start with the quarterbacks here on this episode. Even what was a sort of an off day for Aaron Rodgers where he missed a couple throws. There was a couple plays where he threw 2 interceptions. Two plays that kind of felt like he thought he got the defense to jump. He thought they were free plays. They obviously weren't. A couple miscommunications. Even with all that happening, he was still able to score 3 total touchdowns, 2 of them in the air, 1 of them with his legs. So he was able to find the end zone 3 times. The first one came to Garrett Wilson, was wide open in the end zone. Both of these touchdowns came in red zone drills. First one to Garrett Wilson. Good to see him getting him involved. That chemistry continues to get stronger and stronger and stronger as training camp and these joint practices roll on here. We, of course, saw Garrett Wilson last week have a huge joint practice against the Washington Commanders. You'd expect the same this week, maybe even better, with Rodgers being out there against the Panthers, assuming everything with the weather all holds up okay in Carolina on Thursday. And in his second touchdown went to Xavier Gibson. That was also in red zone drills. Nice route concept, nice throw, nice catch, kind of a perfect ball in the end zone to connect. So good to see Xavier Gibson back healthy after missing about 2 weeks, and him and Rodgers getting involved there today in practice, and obviously kind of picking up where they left off, where Gibson was doing some productive and positive things prior to his lower body injury that he was dealing with here the last couple weeks of training camp. And then Rodgers also ran in a touchdown as well during red zone drills. So he still got it a little bit with the legs. He could still move around a little bit. Some other completions that Rodgers had. He had a really nice completion to Garrett Wilson. So on top of the touchdown, he had another nice completion to Garrett Wilson. That was about 15 plus yards down the left sideline. So again, those two are able to connect not only in red zone drills and in some of those tighter spaces, but are also able to air it out and connect downfield as well, where, you know, it's going to be really interesting. I'm really excited to see. Of course, we've talked about Garrett Wilson and Aaron Rodgers and the connection a ton, but you especially see how much they're getting involved in the red zone, which is huge. And Garrett Wilson's ability hasn't been a big touchdown guy in his NFL career so far. Part of that has been the offense. The quarterback hasn't been able to find him in the end zone. He's only had 7 touchdowns in 2 seasons, but you've seen a ton of touchdowns so far in camp, and you've seen them find different ways to – you've seen Aaron Rodgers and his offense find different ways to get him involved, whether it's downfield, whether it's in the end zone, whether it's something across the middle, whatever. He's just a do-it-all type of receiver who had another good day today. One of the highlights today, probably the highlight today, was Tyler Conklin, who had a one-handed catch across the middle, which we will show you that clip very soon here once we get done with talking about the quarterbacks, running backs, and receivers. We'll show you the Tyler Conklin clip, but that was a very nice play and one of the nicest plays so far in camp, a one-handed catch across the middle. So that was good to see. Rodgers spreading the ball around. Now, some of the not so good from Aaron Rodgers in the offense today, it was the turnovers. Rodgers had an interception to C.J. Mosley. Thought it was a free play. Thought he got somebody to jump. Obviously, he didn't, so he took a risk. It wasn't a very smart decision, wasn't a very smart throw, and forced it into tight coverage, forced it into pretty much lockdown coverage. Mosley was there. So Mosley picks it off. Good to see. Mosley does not have a very good history of holding on to interceptions. Great player. Love C.J. Mosley. Does not do a great job of catching the football, but he did this time. He squeezed it, and he actually ended up handing it off to Sauce, who ended up, I guess, running it. I don't know how far the play ended up going after that, but Mosley had a pick on Rodgers. And then Tony Adams also picked off Aaron Rodgers. We'll get a little bit more deep into Tony Adams later. He shined today at practice, but it felt like it was another play where Rodgers maybe thought he got the defense to jump. It didn't, and then there was a miscommunication between what Rodgers thought Kuntz was going to do and what Kuntz actually did. So there was a miscommunication between Rodgers and the tight end there, and Tony Adams had an easy, pretty much fell right into his hands. So felt like there was that little bit, just a little bit of, I don't know if I want to call it, not so much, it wasn't rust, but a little bit of a couple days off of practice. You had Rodgers hasn't practiced since Wednesday. You had the preseason games where a lot of these guys didn't play in. So it kind of just felt like there was a little bit of slow start today, slow start to the week, if you will, for the offense with a couple of those plays where Rodgers thought one thing, receivers and stuff thought another thing. And he thought he got the offense to jump, didn't happen. So just a couple messy plays there, but nothing to overreact to. And then Tyrod, a couple plays from him. Jason Brownlee got him involved. Brownlee continues a strong camp. And Lincoln Sefik, who is, I'll just throw him in here. Nice play. Tyrod found him for a catch today for a reception. So threw him in there. He's your random player of the day here on these training camp recaps. That's mainly it from the quarterbacks. Again, most of the other guys didn't get a whole lot of looks because still kind of resting coming off that preseason game on Saturday. Running backs, Brees Hall had a couple nice plays. Other than that, again, Allen didn't see a whole lot of action with him playing Saturday, so we'll see more of him as the week goes on, as the week progresses. As for the receivers, we talked about a good day for Garrett Wilson. Gibson touchdown. He looks very healthy. Little surprised he didn't play on Saturday. I thought you would get a little bit of Gibson on Saturday, although the Jets honestly showed you Saturday that they were even sitting their higher end depth guys. Although Gibson might start, they were still sitting they sat Ashton Davis, who was your higher end depth. They sat Jamie and Sherwood was a higher end depth. So they even sat some of their bigger name backups. Surprised Gibson didn't get out there. I'm sure we'll get a good look at Gibson on joint practice this week and then against the Panthers as well. But he looks healthy, he looks good. He called a touchdown, so that's positive. And as we talked about too, Jason Brownlee, he continues to stack up really good days. This is a guy that is making a extremely strong push for the 53-man roster. I could see the Jets holding on to both Irv Charles and Jason Brownlee. It'll be interesting to see what they do because Irv Charles is more of your special teams ace, showed some positives as a gunner last year. Do the Jets keep Irv Charles as your special teams guy and then keep Brownlee as your more of a receiver and then sacrifice somebody else at another position where you're already deep at? I could see both of them. I could see them honestly holding on to 7 receivers for that reason, and Charles being that, almost like what they did with Hardy, where they labeled him under cornerback, but he was really a special teams guy. I just don't see how Brownlee doesn't make this roster. He had the first week of camp was slow. The first 4 or 5 days were slow, but the last 2.5 weeks, he's been excellent. He's been great. Every practice, it feels like he's doing something positive. It's even gotten to the point where he's gotten first team reps. So, and he had a touchdown in the preseason game. I mean, not only is this in practice, but it's also translating to the games as well. So Brownlee is making a very strong push this summer, similar to last year, where he's kind of flying under the radar, but doing a lot of really productive things. So earlier on, we talked about the Tyler Conklin catch. We'll throw it up here on the screen for the YouTube audience. No sound, so I will kind of talk through it. Here it is, Rodgers to Conklin. Conklin across the middle. Ashton Davis on him. Good amount of separation, makes a beautiful one-handed grab. So that was the clip that the New York Jets posted, the highlight of today's practice. Good to see Conklin get that one-handed catch. And that was about it for the tight ends. We'll get to Rucker. We'll get to some injury updates later on because Rucker is involved in the injury report. Move on to the offensive line. Olu Fashanu. He was the big one today. He was the big story. He was getting reps at right tackle today. And according to Sal, according to Keith Carter, he will continue to get reps at right tackle over the next couple weeks. So we get used to seeing Olu at right tackle a lot here in the coming weeks, a lot here in the coming practices. The Jets talked about this being something that they would want to do with him when they drafted him. And when they drafted him, they didn't really say whether or not they would do it. But as camp slowly progressed here, I think they realize, hey, it's not, we're going to play him at right tackle as well. I don't know if this is so much. I don't want to sit here and say that this is, I know some people want to speculate now and say that, is this that they don't trust Carter Warren as your swing tackle? I don't believe that because I think Carter Warren's had a pretty good camp, actually, from what I've seen, especially the 3 days I was there. I thought Carter Warren was good. I thought he was solid. I thought he did some good things. So I don't think it's so much Carter Warren. I think it's more just the Jets like their offensive linemen to be versatile. I mean, you look at this Jets offense line up and down, there's so many guys that can play so many different positions, right? Just look at their starting 5. You have Joe Tippmann, who can play guard and center. He played guard before he played center last year. They drafted him as a center. Then you have AVT, who can play 4 different positions. He started at 4 different positions. He's primarily a right guard. That's where he should be, but he could play left tackle. He could play right tackle. He could play left guard. The only position he hasn't played is center. I'm sure if you threw AVT out there at center, I'm sure he would do a fine job. That's how good he is. And then you also have Carter Warren, swing tackle. Mitchell, swing tackle. Wes Schweitzer can play every single position. Connor McGovern, let's say they sign him again. He could play guard and center. So the Jets like guys to be versatile up front. They love that. They love their players. They love their offensive linemen have that ability to move around, not just play one position. Now, for Fashanu, Olu is still the left tackle of the future, but they view it as it can't hurt to throw him at right tackle. How do I feel about it? I know some Jets fans are kind of 50-50 on it. Some would rather him just play at right tackle. Don't try and mess with him this young, this early in his career, where you're having him learn two different positions and all that stuff, because we've seen how it's worked out prior with the Jets where they've had guys played two different positions. It is what it is. This doesn't come as much of a surprise. Olu is your left tackle of the future. I guess it can't hurt training him a little bit at right tackle and getting him some reps there. But, you know, I won't lie. I'd be lying if I told you I'd rather just see him at left tackle as opposed to putting him at right tackle as well as a rookie. To be honest, I'd rather him just master left tackle, and then ideally maybe Carter Warren turns into your right tackle of the future. Like, I'd rather Olu just master left tackle as opposed to trying to get him to work on both as a rookie. It's just a lot. And then you're concerned a little bit with stunting his development as a left tackle. So obviously the Jets don't see it. He'll get right tackle reps. It's not much of a surprise. It feels like this was heading in this area, but that's just the way it is. So Olu was at right tackle for the first time today, and we'll see how that trend continues to roll here. Tyron Smith was today individual drills, but had a vet rest day for team drills. So nothing crazy there with Tyron Smith, just another one of those veteran rest days. More of them are popping up here as camp goes on, which I don't blame the Jets. I agree with that, because we're kind of entering the dog days of summer. Usually after the next week, after the second preseason game, you enter the dog days of summer, where you're halfway through August. You're already 2/3 of the way through preseason. You're kind of entering the stage of not just players, but fans just start to say, get me to the regular season already. This training camp preseason stuff's getting old. So I think it's smart for the Jets as we get deeper into August to continue to rest him a little bit more, because you don't want to put too much wear and tear on his body as we get into these next couple weeks here, these final couple tune-up weeks before the real thing begins. As for the defense, that's what shined today. They won the day. We'll start up front. Defensive line, Quinnen Williams had a sack on Rodgers, or what would be a sack in a real game. So that was good to see. Clemens and Jermaine Johnson also got after Rodgers a little bit. They collapsed the pocket on that play, which opened up a lane for Quinnen Williams to get to Rodgers. Linebackers, very good day for the Jets 1-2 punch. CJ Mosley, we talked about it, the interception. Quincy Williams had a couple really nice plays, especially against the run. Had a couple nice run stops, a couple plays where he clogged running lanes. So Quincy Williams had a good day from a run stopping perspective, and Mosley flashed a little bit in coverage. Corners and safeties. Tony Adams, it felt like, was the MVP of practice today. He had a pass breakup against Lazard, and he had an interception on Rodgers, which was intended for Kuntz. We talked about that earlier. Felt like it was a miscommunication between the two. Adams took advantage. So Tony Adams had a very successful day today. Good to see him go up against a guy like Lazard, who's had a pretty successful camp up to this point. Go one-on-one, break up the pass there against Rodgers, and then, of course, go out there and pick off Rodgers. So a very good day for Tony Adams from a coverage perspective. I would say this overall, and we talked about this going into training camp, what would the Jets safety room look like? How would it, or if it didn't look good, would they go out and sign a Justin Simmons or something like somebody like that? I think overall you've got to be pretty okay with the way the Jets safety room has been. And I think Chuck Clark, while he doesn't always pop up on the stat sheet and highlights, he's had an interception, but he's looked healthy. I think that's the most important part. He's looked healthy. He's had a couple really nice tackles. He's shown his open field tackling ability. Tony Adams had a heck of a day today with a pass breakup and an interception. Ashton Davis has done some positive things. Now, I think overall the safety rooms look good. I think it's looked solid. And I think, we went into training camp wondering, what if Tony Adams didn't look the same as he did last year? What if Chuck Clark looks slow and looks kind of rusty coming off the torn ACL? Would you go out and sign Justin Simmons? I just see that not even happening at this point. I never really saw it happening in the first place, but I especially don't see it happening now. Not only because the safety room looks fine, but also because they got their own contract issues with Hassan Reddick. If Hassan Reddick sees them go out and sign Justin Simmons, and he'd be like, all right, where's my money? I've been here before him. Where's my money? So I think the safety room, as you see it, is what it's going to be like. And the secondary as a whole, JBC looked great in the preseason game. Quantez Stiggers has looked good. DJ Reed today, another one, had a pass breakup against Garrett Wilson. Got beat early in the route, but recovered late and caught up to him to break up the pass. So a really nice recovery on that play. DJ Reed's gotten a little bit of the raw end of the stick at times this camp. He's been on the wrong side of a lot of highlights, but he's had a couple really good practices, and he's still your legitimate number 2 corner. A lot of people look at DJ Reed this camp and say, oh, he's gotten beat by Garrett Wilson. Well, yeah, everybody gets beat by Garrett Wilson. Sauce gets beat by Garrett Wilson from time to time. But it was good to see DJ Reed obviously win that battle against Garrett Wilson today. But the secondary as a whole, I think, has been very, very impressive. I think you should – the starters, not Sauce, DJ Reed, those guys, no surprise. But the safety room specifically, especially Tony Adams, I think you should be impressed with so far this camp. And a day like today gives you more confidence in that room with Tony Adams with the pass breakup and, of course, the interception. All right, now we go to the injury report. I wanted to close this out, try and put all of them in together for one thing. So 3 injury reports. Number 1, Jeremy Rucker. Out a couple of days. Saleh said, quote, he's dealing with a few things. So it doesn't seem like anything major there. Out a couple days. It feels like if I had to guess, they're going to hold him out these next 3 days. And I would say he's probably back out there for the joint practice against Carolina. That would probably be my guess, but I could be wrong. Mike Williams, he's working in individual drills. Looks good, looks healthy from all accounts there. He's working on the bike as well, doing stuff on his own, or doing stuff with individual, all that stuff. Still not in team drills. Saleh said he's a few weeks away from team drills. He also mentioned how they want to be smart with Mike Williams, not rush him back. So Mike Williams was activated earlier than Breece Hall was last year, but it still feels like he's on that same Breece Hall timeline of he's probably going to spend the next week and a half just individual stuff, and then they'll throw him into team drills. I don't know if you will see Mike Williams for the joint practice next week against the Giants. I would probably assume not. I think you're looking more at him the final week and a half of August, final week and a half of training camp, where he'll go out there, use that more as a ramp up for the regular season, but keep an eye on that. It's just good to see him back out there, but still a little bit away from team drills. And Michael Carter II, Saleh said, might be back next week. So hopefully back next week. Doesn't seem like anything major there. He's working his way back after, of course, getting beat up, last week with the ankle? I think something like that. Forget exact injury, but yes. Michael Carter II, MC2, will be back soon. So that's the injury report. Nothing major there, but a couple injuries to note. I wanted to throw them all together. And also the Jets made a couple roster moves that we will throw out here at the end of the show before we close things out for another day. They signed Neil Johnson, tight end Neil Johnson, and linebacker Anthony Hines, and they released Jimmy Ciarlo, linebacker, who unfortunately got hurt in the preseason game against the Commanders on Saturday. And they also released cornerback Miles Jones. So those were the 4 roster moves that the Jets made. 2 guys released, and 2 additions to the camp roster right now. So that'll do it. That's episode 351 of the In the Trenches with Gang Green podcast. Leave a comment down below. What are your thoughts on the New York Jets training camp day number 13? Your biggest takeaways from practice, and any other things you would like to comment down below. I appreciate all of you. Again, make sure to please like and subscribe. We are just 7 subscribers away from the big old 400. I appreciate all of your support, and stay tuned. A lot more content coming your way. As always, hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, Jets, 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 Jets.